Hey guys, it's Mrs. Matheson here. We are going to be covering Unit 5, Notes 3 on quadratic formula. But before we can get into quadratic formula, we need to practice some of our square roots because square roots are going to be a really big piece in that quadratic formula. So we know right off the bat that the square root of 16 is 4. We start off easy. This next problem has that negative sign in front of the square root. That just means we're going to take the square root of 25, which is 5, and make it negative. This next one, we see a plus and a minus sign, a positive and negative sign. That just means that our answer, our solution, is going to have the positive answer and the negative answer. So we're going to use the square root sign like parentheses. It's a grouping symbol. We're going to simplify under the grouping symbol first. And so that means we're going to do that multiplication before we do our subtraction according to order of operations. So we have 34 minus 2 times 3 is 6. And 6 times 3 gives us 18. Then we're going to go ahead and do that subtraction. 34 minus 18 gives us 16. We've already seen 16 today. Square root of 16 is 4, so our solution is positive 4 and negative 4. Now the next 4 problems we're going to just touch up base on in class. Go ahead and get them done for class. The last problem looks a little tricky right now. It's the 11 plus or minus the square root of negative 7 squared minus 4 times 5 times 2. It looks tricky now, but actually after we practice the quadratic formula, you're going to be able to go back at the end of the notes and do that problem with no issues. So let's actually see, what is that quadratic formula? Here we go. Quadratic formula says x equals, it says negative b, we want to be thinking opposite b, plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c all over 2a. And you're going to actually memorize this formula, and your teacher's going to show you a little YouTube video in class that's going to help you memorize that. So let's talk about, when do we use the quadratic formula? Well, the quadratic formula solves quadratics. Remember, quadratics are ax squared plus bx plus c to find roots, zeros, and solutions. Roots, zeros, and solutions are 3 different ways of saying, hey, we're going to find out what x is equal to. But to do a quadratic formula, you must have your equation set equal to 0 or equal to f of x to solve. If it's not equal to 0, you are actually going to be able to make it equal to 0. But if we don't see that equal sign, it's going to actually be solved by factoring. So equal sign, quadratic formula. No equal sign, factoring. All right, here's your steps to factoring. To quadratic formula. Go ahead and pause the video right now and get these down. 1 says find what a, b, and c equal. 2 is plug a, b, and c into the formula. 3 is simplify, and 4 is round your answer to the two decimal places. So that means some of our answers are going to be decimals, and that's just fine. Excuse me. So let's get into our first problem. So step 1 says to identify what a, b, and c is equal to. We see here, a is our 3, b is going to be that negative 7, don't forget to include the negative, and c is negative 20. So let's go ahead and put that into our quadratic formula and simplify. So we're going to have x equals, so we're thinking opposite b, so b is already negative 7, so we're going to change it to positive 7, plus or minus the square root of negative 7 squared. Don't forget to put your negative 7 in parentheses, minus 4 times a, which is 3, times c, which is our negative 20, all over 2 times our a, which is 3. So we're going to simplify, and again, we're going to start simplifying underneath that square root sign. So we have our 7 plus or minus the square root. Negative 7 squared gives us 49. We have negative 4 times 3 times negative 20. That's going to turn into a positive 240. All over 2 times 3 gives us 6. Again, keep simplifying underneath that square root sign. So we have 7 plus or minus the square root of 289, and it's all divided by 6. So the square root of 289, if you know your math facts, is 17. So we're going to have 7 plus or minus 17 over 6. Now at this point, I like to split my problem up into 2 problems because that's what the plus and the minus signs say. So we have x equals 7 plus 17 divided by 6, and we're going to have x equals 7 minus 17 divided by 6. So 7 plus 17 gives us 24, and we're going to divide that by 6. So one of our solutions is x equals 4. Then we're going to go ahead and take 7 minus 17, which gives us negative 10, and divide that by 6. So x equals negative 1.66, repeating, so we're going to round that to 1.67. So there's our two solutions. So after we plug it in, it's just doing a lot of calculations. Let's go ahead and give problem 2 a try. Notice problem 2 is set up to f of x, which is just fine. So we're going to start off by finding out what does our a, b, and c equal. So a, b, and c. Well, there's no number in front of our x squared term, so that's going to lead us to believe that a is 1, b is going to be our positive 3, and c is negative 18. Let's go ahead and put that into our quadratic formula. So opposite b, this time b is positive, so we're going to make it negative 3 plus or minus the square root of 3 squared minus 4 times a, which is 1, times c, which is negative 18, all over 2 times a. All right, so let's again simplify underneath the square root sign. So negative 3 plus or minus the square root. 3 squared gives us 9. Negative 4 times 1 times negative 18 gives us a positive 72, all over 2 times 1, which is 2. Simplifying still underneath that square root sign, we get the square root of 81. So now we know the square root of 81 is going to give us 9. So I'm going to break it up into our 2 steps right here. So we're going to have plus 9 divided by 2, and x equals negative 3 minus 9 divided by 2. Negative 3 plus 9 gives us 6 divided by 2, so we have 3 as one of our answers. And then we have negative 3 minus 9 gives us negative 12 divided by 2, so negative 6 is another solution. So most of the time, you're going to see some decimals and some whole numbers, and that's just fine with us. We don't have to worry about that. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at problem 3 and 4. Look at those. Both have, it's not something that it's equal to, like a number. So we need to set those equal to 0. Well, the only way to get those equal to 0 is to subtract over the term that it is. So we're going to minus 17 over onto both sides. So our quadratic now is 4x squared plus 2x minus 17 equals 0. Let's just go ahead and identify a, b, and c for this. A is 4, B is 2, and C is negative 17. If we look at problem 4, we need to move over the 25, so we're going to do that by subtracting 25 to both sides. We get x squared minus 2x minus 25 equals 0. So let's again identify our A, B, and C. A equals 1, B equals negative 2, and C equals negative 25. Go ahead and I want you to work through both of these problems now that we've got our A, B, and C identified, and bring those back for class tomorrow. Problem 5, it's in a funky order, and problem 6, we only see 2 terms. We're going to do both of those together in class tomorrow. Feel free to try them, but don't feel stressed out if you don't get them. Then let's take a look here. And talk about roots. So what we were finding, what x equals, those were our roots. Okay, sometimes we have 2 answers, and this is what we're actually finding. We're finding those x-intercepts here in the picture. Okay, if you have 2, that means our graph crosses twice. If you actually get a solution and you get only 1 answer, meaning you might have that answer twice, so if, that means that you have your vertex as your x-intercept. So be careful and just acknowledging that what we're finding is those x-intercepts. We're not just doing some math calculations. All right, then we have 2 word problems here, and we're going to cover both of those in class tomorrow. So problems 5, 6, 8, and 7 are going to be done in class tomorrow. So tonight you need to finish problems 3 and 4, and we'll see you guys then.